Hey. Yo.
This is episode number 349 of WordPress 5.8. Tatum.
Is it? Tatum.
Yeah.
Tatum.
Brought to you by ServerPress, Maker's Desktop Server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out over at serverpress.com. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
I'm Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
I'm Shay Reed. I make WordPress, teach WordPress, research, blah, 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 blah. Hi. Hey. What's up?
Hey. And it's your boy, Jason Cosper, a.k.a. Post Formats Malone. Cosper.me. Check it out.
You can go and subscribe to us as a podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, and Spotify.
But just FYI, Jason edits all this cool chat out, so you don't if you listen on a podcast, you don't get all my cool haze.
What? You downloaded the podcast?
No, you told me. Hey, so first question. I'm just going to lob it right now.
Go for it.
Tatum if you got him. How do you say this? Like I've been going back and forth. Tatum? I don't know. And I looked it up.
I don't know.
I don't know how.
I like to say it the way that Conan O'Brien says Tato, as if it's like an Irishman, like an old-timey Irishman. So I go, Tatum.
So why did they name this after a Boston Celtics player this time around?
Arthur Tatum Jr., but I don't know how to say it.
Oh, it's not Jason Tatum. Okay, never mind.
Oh, it's Jason Tatum, so this must be Tatum too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I legit have just been going back and forth. Tatum. Anyway.
Are we just going to call this one Tatum like we call the block editor Gutenberg from now on?
Totally. That's exactly what we're going to do here.
I mean, yeah, it's very it's satisfying to say Tatum. I don't know. I really like this particular name.
But I worry if we keep on this too much longer, we're going to do one of those Letterman Oprah things, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, but we're still remembering that, and it's like 20 years later. So Tatum,
sure,
Tatum. Anyway, all right. What you got, peeps? Because I got notes. I have notes.
Ooh, you have notes.
You prepared? It only took 349 episodes.
I mean, prepared is generous.
I like it when
notes.
Say prepares. It's rare, but it happens, and when it happens, it's wonderful.
Prepare. Well, you know, when something's brand new, I can't just wing it the same way because it turns out they're brand new. So I can't use my innate intelligence to figure stuff out if I've never seen it.
Hey, they fixed the media area in this one. No, that's not true.
No.
That's not true. That's not true.
But
I'm waiting for
one thing.
I'm waiting for that though.
They did allow you to copy the URL without having to go in and get the URL when you upload something. So that actually gave me hope. And they added in the lazy load for the grid if you're ever just scrolling through your media library looking for all the pictures that are randomly in there in no order whatsoever. So those are there, but it gave me hope that there could be changes coming to the media library.
It gave you hope that somebody's actually looking at the media library.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, the media library got touched. We all like that. Touch the library. So that was exciting. I mean, can we just talk about the most exciting thing?
Yeah,
yes.
Go for it.
Can we just jump in?
Please.
The loop is on fire.
We don't need no water. Oh,
is that a thing?
Let it burn.
Yeah. You know, I love me a loop. I love me a query, a custom query.
Yeah, that's using like if you use the little slash query, you can just have that pop up, and then you can start building out how that loop is going to be set up. Which I was watching some videos on how other folks were using it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can see this is going to be very helpful.
I mean,
you know.
I think the real problem is that, I mean, obviously what it is, it's a query loop. That's totally what it is. But I feel that naming it that is gonna not have it. Well, it's fine for developers, obviously, but for the lay person, that's a scary block title. Like, I don't necessarily think that it should have been called that, but I do almost feel like this is WordPress's MySpace moment. Like,
are you saying we're going to have dancing babies and things like that?
Well, what this does is this brings the concept of the loop and the query and really post types even out into the user, like the back end that the user's using it, out into the admin. Like, it's not in core, it's not in a builder. I mean, it's not in the back end, it's not in the code, it's not in the builder. It's right there in front. So I think that will lend itself to people being like, oh, so wait, I can make more post types? Oh, wait, I can do this. So that's kind of what I mean when I say it's a MySpace moment, how MySpace, inadvertently taught an entire generation CSS because they wanted to have their dancing babies, basically.
Yeah. Well, what would you call this if you weren't going to call it like the query loop?
A post layer or something like that, like a post.
But it's not just posts. It's because there's other post types. So that is
still post types. Like, they're still posts because they're post types. So a CPT block.
Yeah, you know me.
Like, I just think that the name is a little codey for sure. But I mean,
yeah, CPT is not much better, and could also be considered a little racist. For the people who know, they know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay.
We're all like, huh. You do live in Bakersfield, so you would have more experience.
Right. I'm a stone's throw away from Oildale, which is just racist as hell.
I think that the thing is that custom post types are still posts, right? They don't always behave like posts, but that's what they're called. So calling it something like that, I think, would be a little bit better. But I mean, it is what it is. It's probably not going to change now. So it's just going to be called the loop. And I think that's interesting. And I think it could introduce people to more complex.
Custom post types should really have been called content types. I mean, then it's not confused with a post, right? And that's actually how I refer to it when I'm talking to my clients, so that they understand that these are types of content.
Yeah, or so a content block actually would make sense. That you're like, I'm going to put some content here. What content do you want? I want these posts or these whatever. So that makes more sense from a user perspective to me, in terms of because that's the real question, right? Like, who's using this block? Who is this block for? Is this block for the layperson, or is this block for assemblers? Is this blocks for developers? Like, not sure.
Well, I think this. I think this sort of that's exactly what I was just going to say. This sets the stage for full site editing, right? This is bridging that gap.
I mean, I have the same question about full site editing, so But again, this really is, to me, the MySpace moment. We are going to start to teach people about how to build their site and what they can do, that they can move things around, that they're not locked in. And so I think we're going to start to see, if people start to use this, more innovative, creative, unique websites, because people are going to find ways to stick stuff in weird places.
It is
on that.
Trust me, we will.
It is time for WordPress to get weird. Let's get weird.
We're going to get weird. I think we might open the door to weird a little bit with this, and I'm kind of excited about it. People do weird stuff with tools. You know what I mean? Again.
I mean, I've been on websites where there's widgets all over the place. So, for instance, now we have a block-based widget editor that's brought into this. So if you want to take an old widget and drop it in there, you can, Yeah,
I mean, essentially widgets are blocks anyway. So now they're just like extra blocks, and you can block in block. I'm like, where are widgets even going at this point? Like, if you're going to go to full site editing, isn't everything a block? And a widget is just a name between a block and a hard place?
I think widgets is antiquated, right? I mean, widgets imply sidebar only type of stuff, or footer, right?
Yeah.
Even that made widgets kind of confusing, is that the fact that you can put them other places besides the sidebar.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? So now they're just blocks, right? I mean, widgets were already kind of like blocks, right? You built out your sidebar or you built out your footer, and now it's just like, I just think it's funny. It's kind of like a Inception, where it's like you've got a widget inside a block, inside a widget, inside a block. Is it a widget? Is it a block? I don't know.
The one I think that's really weird that they added is this ability to add filters.
Oh my God.
I thought that as
and
well.
this is like the WordPress.com like equivalent for like, WordPress.org type sites where they're like, oh look here, you can edit your photos now.
Well,
Let's add a filter.
But the only filter there is duotone. So what if my site's not designed to take duotone photos? It is an interesting choice.
The funniest part about this for me personally is that my business partner hates images of photos that are screened of people that are now purple or people that are green. She's like, why are you making people green? Like she just like hates it as a design selection, not for images or whatever, but specifically people. And when it was coming out, I texted her and I was like, WordPress is putting your most hated design feature into core. Just get ready to see it more.
And I'm wondering if they picked this particular filter deliberately because maybe it's the lightest on the GD library, right? That actually does the image changes in the background, right? They could have picked this because it's simply going black and white and then adding a color, which is probably pretty light on the server side than compared to some of the other things that you could do with GDlib.
Yeah. I think that this is weird for core. Like that to me seems like a really strange feature to go deeper into. Like there's so many things you can't do to edit your image already, and now they're like, but you can make it a different color.
But listen, you guys, everybody here has been asking for media improvements for so long. They're finally giving you a feature that they ripped off from Spotify. all the artist covers on Spotify. So now your site can look like Spotify. You know what? You're welcome.
You're onto something, Cosper.
Two things.
They just bought a podcasting setup, so I get it. This makes sense now.
It continues. Matt makes
I'm assuming this is setting the stage for other filters, is what this is doing. So I'm assuming this is only the first of many, right?
A filter. It's basically a filter, right? Like on Instagram or whatever. So you can just filter out your images. And
so I'm assuming they wanted us to start with one, see how it goes, right? And they'll add more. But we're going to end up with a whole bunch of sites that look exactly the same.
Yeah. And if they wanted a filter, they should choose this one. This is a better filter than the
yarn frog hat.
I really like my new hat and my phone. So I understand that at some point we're going, man, I hope Automatic doesn't buy Snap. Because then I wouldn't have all my cool filters and I couldn't look like this.
No, I want all the Snapchat filters within my WordPress site so that I can. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean,
I do not want that.
I'm surprised no more stories weren't integrated into core. The Google stories. They didn't jump on that trend. They're like, come on, everybody, put your story where your mouth is.
And I did see that there were some improvements to columns. If you're putting in any of the columns, you're able to do some more
spacing
kind of attributes there for the spacing. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is great. Text too. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's good. Oh, thanks. Good. You do whatever you need to say.
And
what? Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of control over, columns and stuff like that, this control with theme JSON and block JSON that they added to core is absolutely a huge thing. Like we can actually go, someone on the Pagely breakdown of 5.8 said, can we finally say goodbye to the chaos of overwriting a million CSS classes just to get a page builder to stop ripping our styles apart? I am looking forward to this so much. and getting to actually play with it more.
This was I was going to bring up this exact same feature. From a developer standpoint, this feature is awesome. Just being able to kind of control, save out, mess with the theme .json file, just to kind of get to the core of the settings of your site is pretty cool.
What
now,
do you
with great power comes great responsibility, right? So this allows theme developers and plugin developers to kind of mess with your site the way they want, by having this open thing. But they could already do this. This just makes it easier for them to do that.
And now we got WebP.
I was going to say, this is just making things easier and cleaner, right? It's not putting something in that wasn't there before, other than tidying.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
That's a question. That was a question, not a statement. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the answer.
You're welcome. No, I'm going to treat it as a statement. Thank you.
Your statement has been recorded. WebP support says broken. She needs to hit refresh or something. But WebP support is now a thing. You don't have to go and run some extra plugin or extra something in order to be able to do it. It's just kind of built into it.
That is very
cool. I also saw the ability to be able to do PDFs now, and having have a PDF actually tied in seems like a nice thing.
I didn't see that. So what do you mean?
Let me see if I can find it here. One of these sites had the PDF.
So like a PDF viewer on the
built
in blocks on the front end. Okay, yeah, that is very cool.
Yeah, because there's been plenty of plugins that you could use that would make a PDF work, but
I think that's kind of native to most browsers now. Is the PDF capability? I don't know that you need a plugin for that anymore.
Yeah, but this is more of inline
it's support,
embedded, support, which that's cool, I guess.
That's very cool.
If that's what you need, and being able to set, it looks like there's a couple settings in there to do it inline as well as set the height and pixels. So just enough and nothing more.
And I know we mentioned this on a past episode, but they also dropped support for IE11.
Oh yes,
which is good.
Oh, yeah, that is good.
Yeah. The thing I think I am most excited about, I tend to get excited about the developer-y features, as was kind of shown, at least initially, by my excitement around theme.json and block.json. But a thing that I think is huge is the new plugin header tag, the update URL plugin header tag, which will basically allow you to set a new update URL for your plugin, which means that if you have a plugin that's named, say the plugin is named Jetpack, and you don't want it to update because there's the Jetpack in the repository, you can actually have your own Jetpack on the site and not have things conflict. An interesting thing that got brought up in the Pagely post was that basically you could take this and fix a bug in a plugin that you're seeing a problem, you fix a bug, you set the update URI to something else until you know that bug has been fixed in the plugin, and then once the bug has been fixed, you can change it back and say, okay, no more update URI here.
So are you telling me I could fix the bug that's in the current version of WooCommerce?
Yes.
There's one bug? Oh, well,
there's a pretty. We should probably talk about this next week. But there's a significant performance bug in the current version of WooCommerce.
Oh wow,
that is a known issue.
I've never heard of WooCommerce performance issues, but
you were right.
Yeah, you're right. It's usually pretty flawless.
Yeah. No, but like, I think that's
shut my computer down. Flawless.
Cool. I think that's really cool because, like I said, you have these updates from a hosting perspective, from somebody who has worked at, 3 web hosts now, and just having something where there's a security issue and it's like, oh, we have to push a fix. There's like a 0-day security issue. We have to push a fix, but the developer hasn't released anything yet. There's a patch GitHub or something like that, where, you know, or there's a pull request that we could actually merge in ourselves, but we want to wait for that official release. You don't have to wait for that official release any longer.
That's cool.
You can pull down those changes, change the update URL to something else. It doesn't even have to be valid. And then it'll check that for updates instead of, and like I said, you just flip it back over to or you remove the header altogether and then can start getting updates from the repository again. Huge.
Yeah,
that is
cool.
a big deal.
That is cool. One thing I noticed in a video that I was watching where someone was kind of describing, I did a little bit of homework as well, but one of the things that I was watching was where the person was kind of describing this persistent list view that shows over on the left-hand side of the screen. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that was super interesting with that is the fact that you could go and click on one of these items, and then on the right-hand side, you could actually set an HTML anchor. And by setting that HTML anchor, now you can actually see in that list. Oh, I just lost it. But in that list, you can actually see that HTML anchor will actually show up on that persistent list on the left. So you'll be able to like quickly be able to locate where that's at, which was
that's handy. Yeah, that
little an anchor before, but I don't.
Right here. It's like right here on the
cool.
right hand side. So it puts that name in there, which is pretty neat. I mean, HTML anchors are good just in general because you're able to, you know, set maybe a table of contents or something like that to be able to drop down to those spots. But being able to have that listed on the left hand side, super helpful.
And that list, by the way, that you're looking at, that list of blocks that's in your post is very handy, right? So if you're, and this isn't a new feature, but if you're
apparently it got better because
it was a pop open before.
Yes, exactly. So if you're, and I like that it's now it can be a sidebar. So if you are using Gutenberg, get familiar with this feature, especially if you've got a whole bunch of nested blocks. This makes it way more easier to navigate.
I'm excited for the changes to the updates to this, because when you were using columns, when using columns and you've got columns inside columns or whatever, it was such a pain to click the dang thing you were trying to find. I'm like, I don't know how I always, when I'm doing something, it's like, I can do it. Like I can find it. I know where it is. I know how to click around, but I always think about the lay user. And I'm like, there's no way they're just frustrated by this. And it's just frustrating. So that's a huge improvement, I think.
Well, while we were talking in our very secret group chat that we have last night, I mentioned the Wayfinder plugin, which is one that I'm really I'm happy with and how it works. It gives you like a hover state on your blocks to show you what block it is. It'll give you the CSS classes, so you
can actually, what I care about so much.
And
the CSS classes of all of that stuff, and that is so handy.
And this plugin has already reached 30 plus installs, so it's pretty popular.
Dang, Cosper, you've told 30 people about this. That's awesome.
Now that
it's brand new, isn't it?
Now that it is brand new, and now that it's been on WaterCooler, I'm just expecting those installs to just
WaterCooler
it'll at least go to 32.
What if it goes down? It goes down. It's like
15. I'm gonna log in tomorrow. It's gonna say 32 plus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
By the way, that's a weird place to set the metric. Is it like 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus?
The plus is weird. It just means that it's somewhere between 30 and 40, I'm assuming.
I was assuming it meant somewhere between 30 and 1,000.
No.
I mean, the plus does not indicate it's more than 30.
I've got to assume that when it gets to 40, it'll go 40 plus.
I mean, that's an assumption you're making.
I'm going to tell my whole team to download it and see what it does. I just want to find out what that metric is.
Can you guys let us know? We'd like to see it by the end of the day. That'd be great. I wanted to talk about icons. Speaking of Wayfinder and LinkedIn, the icons are getting ridiculous. They don't mean anything.
What do you mean?
Can you bring the query loop up?
Yeah, let me find it for you real quick.
Yeah, if you can bring the query loop up.
Are you talking about the icons in the sidebar? Like in the left-hand sidebar?
No, the icons within. I mean, we're just needing so many icons. So the icons within the query loop, if you they just like, if you're just looking at them, what do they mean? I mean, obviously that one's filters, and centering, but like the one that's dark. What is that? But it's a list.
I get used to them. I actually don't mind.
I know you get used to them, but I'm just like, how many icons can there be? And they're like lines. It just kind of cracks me up. I'm not upset about it. I just think it's funny to try to represent all these complex, concepts and things that are happening within it. And they're like, here's 3 lines and a dot. You got.
I'll tell you what's fun is we natively in our repos always install feather icons and box icons. I don't know if you're familiar with either of those sites, and it's an actual part of a developer's job here to figure out which icon represents the functionality that you're building into a client site. And I always find that the most fun part of the job.
Like these guys?
Really feather icons and box icons. So they're very similar. We use these quite a bit.
If you put an alert triangle somewhere where it shouldn't have been alert circle, like people are going to have problems. Like, I think
a triangle feels more serious.
It does.
Right? It's got sharper edges.
But are these Dashicons, and they're just expanding the Dashicon? Like, I thought we were getting rid of Dashicons. I'm super confused about what's happening.
They may be using what's that other icon that everybody uses where it's associated font awesome. Yeah. Those are probably font awesome icons.
There are Dashicons that have to do with block editing. I noticed that there are more and more things like post excerpt, and especially in the query loop, there's all these additional icons for post expert is a quote with like a couple lines, and then it's just cracking me up. We're like going back to like hieroglyphics.
Yeah, even like these guys, the way that they're displaying them this way too. It's like
that's what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
If you look, Jason, if you look at the URL I just gave you, Jason, there is actually a page on the WordPress repo for the Dashicon. So they lay out all the Dashicons and what they do. And I'm actually seeing some of the block icons are in there. There's a whole section for block editor now. So it is a Dashicon. These keep expanding, but go down one more, Jason. There's a block there, right there. There's a block editor icons.
Okay, it says this keep expanding, but also at the same time, I thought Dashicons was being taken away.
Deprecated? Yeah.
That's the word. I can never say it. I don't know. I read it somewhere. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not like they're adding much weight to the repo. They're just little SVG files.
I just think it's funny. Like, who's designing them? And what's this paperclip? With the wings.
I really think we need to get to the bottom of this puzzle, Jason. I think next week's episode is just Dashicons.
Just Dashicons.
I'm fascinated by them. I just wanted to bring that up. I know it's just a tiny thing, but icons do shape the experience a lot, and I just think they're so minimal. Like, I really actually want to know who those are done. I'm
betting there's a Dashicon team member on the WordPress development team,
and it's just so interesting. It's like, how Morse code is like, it's all lines and dashes for all of the letters, and this is.
I would actually put that on my business card. I'm the Dashicon guy.
Dashicon.
Now, I was going to say it's really hard, and I appreciate your frustration with this. It is very hard to boil down functionality to 32 pixels, 16
That's what
pixels.
I'm saying. It's like this tiny thing. I'm not necessarily frustrated with it. I just think it's really interesting. And I think it's like at a certain point, it's going to be like just this abstract.
Pull this up. Pull up the Dashicons again, Jason.
Like the floppy disk icon, it's so far removed from what it is, but it just still means that. I just find it fascinating.
Look at the ones in the top row all the way to the right. Those are interesting Dashicons right there, because I think they're trying to imply tag of some sort of media. It's the
in the block editor
right there. The ones in the top right. Those four right there. They're like a media type and then a tag indicator in the bottom right corner. So
how weird.
Cosper's right. I mean, they're putting a lot of information inside of 32 pixels.
That's what I'm talking
Those
about.
Guys right there.
Like, what do all these mean? Like F1, like it's like the picture with some icon, and there's no columns. Like, I'm fascinated by this. This is like, to me, modern day hieroglyphics, and this is like the language that has to transcend language.
Well,
what's
say you've learned how to use emoji, right?
I have. Fun fact, the math that I took in college was actually math. I learned how to count in hieroglyphics and Egyptian, so I guess this is just more of that, saying why I'm fascinated with it.
Brag.
But that's a real math class.
So what we're saying is we need an Emojipedia for Dashicons is what we're talking about here, right?
Dashipedia.
I think what we're saying is Dashicons were so important that we spent 5 minutes of this episode talking about it.
I think what I'm trying to say is smiley face with hearts.
And we didn't even have time to talk about Tiny MCE acquiring somebody.
Talk about icons.
Paper
Tiny MCE is icon happy. Have you ever turned on all the options for Tiny MCE Advanced? Like you get like 5 rows of icons. You can't tell what anything is.
I mean, yeah, because it's like they're like I think it's Aristotle's like proto meaning. That's what those are. That's what it comes down to. It's like the core meaning of what something is reducing it down to its icon. Sorry, am I getting too philosophical for everybody?
No, it's okay. I think we're entering 7 minutes of talking about icons.
I can't stop.
Well, that wraps it up for us, folks.
Next week's episode, tune in for more icon talk.
on WP Icons? Or Icon Water Cooler?
Icon Cooler.
Dashicooler. I don't know what's wrong with that. We have plenty to talk about. It's no problem.
Oh, just play the outro.
We can just have that conversation about it right now over the outro. So go to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe where you can subscribe to our content over
there.
What's
that WP in the word balloon bubble mean thing?
Yeah, that's our icon.
Oh, let me look it up on emoticon.